Hello, Bentley.
Mark Antoine.
How are you?
How are you doing?
Not bad. Trying to find ways to move forward. And one of them is I'll be part of a startup incubator,
Oh,
uh,
cool.
AI focused. It's a short, like boot camp cohort for early stage. I'm not exactly in early stage, but it's not like I have a product on market yet, so it works as early stage.
Yeah. It's funny. We have a bit of a parasocial relationship now because I'm still watching a lot of the OGM stuff. So I still see you for 2, 3 hours a week. I may be at 1.5 speed. Hey, Joel.
Hello.
I was just telling Marc Antoine that he has a fan because I still watch him on several videos a week.
Does that make you a fan? I think
Well, sort of.
thanks. Um, so yes, you're aware of. No, I was just telling Bentley that I'm starting a short uh, program with the startup incubator this month, just as a way to kind of have more focus on some of the things I'm doing.
Oh, that's exciting.
Let's see what happens.
Good luck with that. Is that, I guess like, how do you get involved with that? Is that something you just like apply for with like
Just
a
apply for.
project?
Exactly. This is pretty much exactly the process. That this is what I want to build. Are you interested in helping me out? It's it's you don't pay for it. It's something the government does to help startups. So
Hmm.
the incubator is called Next AI. They're AI focused. AI is not
Okay.
exactly the core of what I'm doing, but there's enough of an aspect that I think it's fine, and I think it'll be easier to find money around that.
Yeah, with all the AI money thrown
Yeah.
around.
But I mean, there are AI aspects that I do want to push forward. So it's not totally, I'm not totally bullshitting here,
Hmm.
or even not at all. It's just one thing among many things I'm doing.
Hmm. Is that, I guess, for incubator things, are those things like private while they're under development, or is that like a or maybe it's you just work on it until there's like a MVP and then there would be a decision about like keeping it
I-
open or not.
It's supposed to be my business model. They're very much interested in uh, helping people make money and become big companies. So I don't think they'll be very keen on the open source angle. But it's not explicitly prescribed. So let's see what happens.
Gotcha. That makes sense. That they
Hi,
would be
Carl.
interested in a business C. Maybe if you
Sorry I
could
didn't reach out.
sell. Sorry.
Yeah. No, no, sorry, Carl. I didn't reach out. I was uh, trying to make applications here and there to get money, and that's kept me quite busy.
That's okay. Reach out about what?
About your,
Oh, highlights?
yep,
Oh yeah, that's okay. Yeah, let me know if you look at it and if there's something
still
good or something
interested.
bad. Yeah. Yeah, I started
You- you-
looking at PDF highlighting this week because I started looking at the laws. Like there's some local initiatives and I'm motivated to understand them. And you get to PDFs really quickly and I don't know. I went the route of doing the technically interesting thing, which is figure out how to highlight PDFs. So I'm working on that right now.
Best of luck. You're, yeah, there's been so many different approaches. I don't know what would be if it's,
I
it's,
think I have
it's,
a simple, easy approach. It took me a day to like stumble on it, but it's pretty much what Hypothesis is doing. They download PDF.js and then slightly modify the existing app or like web viewer that download provides. Um, it's
yeah,
pretty
that's,
straightforward. you basically get like a web page that looks like the PDF, and so the existing library works with it for the most part.
Yeah, that is probably the simplest way to go. PDF.js, I can't believe PDF.js exists. It's such a, like rendering PDF in JavaScript is slightly absurd.
Well, I think it's how Firefox does it, which I think used to mean more. Like I said that to someone recently about Firefox, like, oh, you mean like 2% of web browsers? And I was like, oh, geez, times have changed. But yeah, it is interesting.
Yeah, Firefox has not quite the cloud it used to have, yes. When it was financed by Google to ward off anti-monopoly charges, which was pretty much the main source of money. It's not clear what will happen now.
Are we sort of updates level or
Yeah, let's do updates.
I met with a person who created a tool. I think it's just logicmap.com. You may remember Nick Kami, the person who was joining like a few months ago. He was in like he used Noster based debate, mapping cards, and he's
Yeah,
now doing
I remember.
The RAG
yeah, like a RAG
search
startup. They
thing.
got funding, by the way. So he's chugging along, but he introduced me to this logic map person, really, smart, motivated person. But they created this logic map tool, which is it has a platform and like a place for sharing, you'll see, but it doesn't have, I think, much in the way of like contributing to each other's maps. And it's all manually laid out, which are some things that stood out to me. And then this person's no really shoot, what's their name? I forget their name off the top of my head. Andrew, maybe. Um, they're not really looking at this right now. They just couldn't find a good path forward, and they're currently looking into a startup in like contract space, like it's totally something separate. So I don't know if much will happen or change there, but it was interesting to meet them, chat with them.
Okay, that's interesting. I discovered there's somebody doing a pretty interesting conversation mapping application right here in Montreal. I'll just give the link. Relate Space. It's conversation mapping. It's not logic, but it's classic. Let's put things on a map and collaborative map and work on it. Quite cute. The AI stuff is getting better. Recently, I was in a conversation where we discussed, I don't know if you know the Harvard storm.
No.
Okay, let me give you that reference. It's basically something you give it a question, it will create a report about all the pros and cons, and it is open source. There's a GitHub. It's pretty nice. Here's the GitHub. So that's the latest. Oh, that's exciting stuff I found.
Looks cool.
Hmm.
And thanks for the logic map. That's interesting. What else do I know that's interesting? Oh, I spent a fair amount of time. Bentley will know that. The Jerry Michalski is, among other things, working on what he calls neobooks, which is basically composable text units. And one thing that they got into is a project by José Leal called R Protocols. And it's basically trying to make a GitHub community of people defining how do you do X? And here's a protocol for doing X. Here's a kind of recipe book and making a community of recipe books. Again, this is not reasoning, but it is about the collaborative building of something. Again, as text, I'm trying to push towards more structure, and I'm still working on my own structure stuff, but it's interesting. What else have I been part of?
Was
Yeah,
that from, did you say that was from OGM related or?
yeah.
Uh,
Bentley, it's part of what how Bentley sees me on a regular basis, I suspect.
Actually, I've stopped watching the Neobucks calls, but mostly uh the yeah, the
You
freezer
mostly
and
see me in
spraying.
FJB, yeah.
Yeah, which they kind of overlap a bit.
Hmm.
So any other updates on Canonical Debate Lab-ish projects? Has anyone looked at that one I posted earlier today, DebunkBot?
I just looked at
Oh, it's in the
the
Discord.
example on their page. I didn't listen to the thing, but
So
or
it's
try
interesting
it.
that it was done by a academics. So they did a study and they're showing 20%, a rate of 20% people changing their minds just using facts and an AI.
And it seems pretty high.
It's
I
probably the biggest in that's been done. So, and it's funny
It's
because
stunning.
5 years ago everyone was saying facts don't help, and I'm like, they they they're kind of just because you can't use them right doesn't mean they can't be used right. Anyways, yeah. So it was fascinating listening to them, and they were talking about why facts have gotten kind of a bad rap and how where they are useful and where they aren't and stuff like that. So there's a lot of the points that I have written up, and I think that we have on the white paper that a lot of people were dismissing. Now we have a scientific study that adds weight to that concept. Not the facts are everything, but and then I also looked at that project and go, okay, well, that's like 80% of what I want to accomplish with Reason Tracker. So, and I have things in my life that I'm busy with. Is this a reason to shut down the project? My project?
mm,
I don't think so, because
it
there's
seems like a
still
very
some
different.
gaps.
It's like a different way of going about it. Where this isn't really structuring facts. This is just at least like the example I see on the podcast page. It seems like the facts are just like it's just like a huge paragraph of information that you get, and then you like respond to it, and you get another huge paragraph of information.
Yeah, it's a conversation so that it's it's not a comprehensive mapping of the situation, but it is following the logic of one individual and countering that continuously. But there's a couple of cognitive challenges that doesn't address, which is like, even though you could rebut someone's every complaint someone has, and they still can have this feeling that says, oh, I can't think of the reasons why what I think is true at the moment, but I know I've heard lots of arguments on why it's true and lots of people saying other things that has been debunked. So even though you're debunking everything I'm saying, that's not going to change my mind. So without a map that's comprehensive, that it leaves an opening for that sort of thing.
Hmm.
So yeah, there's still kind of a benefit in doing full mappings and stuff.
No, that's great. That's great news. I did see that article go by. It does seem important and absolutely something worth getting into. I added another link in the Discord because I remember to open the Discord. Crowd Wisdom Project. It's another using AI from Polis data. I had mentioned Sunny's work on this, but somebody else has taken that to the next level. I think that's extremely interesting.
Who was Sunny and what was the work?
Sonny Batien, sorry, he's a friend of Jack Park. Let me. The work was. Oops. No, that's not it. Is it? Oh God, wrong. I'll find it and post it. But basically, he did work where he would get an AI to cluster all his contributions and extract the first layer of an IBIS tree from that, like basically issue proposals, and he would kind of cluster the proposals. So this crowd wisdom project goes even further in that direction. Except Sonny's work is public.
Coming back to the debunk bot, nothing I'm saying is to, downplay the value of something like that. I think that there will need to be like UX explorations to like figure out how to address like, doubt. I shared a quote in our in the Zoom chat, and this one is, maybe I picked like the weak part of the quote because I found another quote, and this one's from The Hill, where Nyhan is quoted as saying, "You can imagine a world where AI information is seen the way mainstream media is seen." And I think that that's where I still see value in tools over AI. These models are massive. They're owned and run by, you know, corporations who have particular
And they're black boxes.
Well,
yeah.
yes, except there's one huge difference is that when media reports, they're going off of authority. And when you're talking about that, you're talking about it's not their news organization, it's their, um, I mean, it is their news, but it's their editorial side. And they don't they point to experts, but it's very like one-sided. But in this case, you're talking with an AI bot, you're expecting it to be one-sided, and it's not saying, I believe this. It's saying, it should be pointing to sources. So it's not saying, I have authority in this. It's pointing to sources, and then you're arguing about the sources. So it's it, it doesn't,
You're not totally wrong. It depends how the
or it's
AI is set up, right? The,
less
the,
resistant to it, but yeah.
the AI may be making assertions and it may be hallucinating references, and who will check? Some people, not many. And this is why it's important to have crowdsourced debunking so that if somebody does the work of checking, that gets reused. I mean, I'm still following the fascinating work of Fission. They're working on a IPFS-based distributed compute. And what they want is basically, it's a form of canonicality that here's the function, here's the inputs, that becomes a hash signature. And you can first see, has this been computed before? Ask on IPFS, do we have the results of that computation with this function and those signature? If yes, reuse it. If no, calculate it and send it to a virtual machine, and then store it. This is a computer's or programmer's view of, it's very much a functional programmer's view of let's reuse results. But applying that to debunking feels extremely important. This is why the care with canonicality, right? The question of trust is paramount in there. I'd like to go back a bit. For me, it's important that we have symbolic description of reasonings before so-called explainable AI has to be an explanation, has to be something where you can check the steps. And if the AI gives you a reasoning, and you don't know how it came to that conclusion, it's a black box, you've got an accountability issue. If it can tell you this is how I reached that conclusion, now the introspection is flawed, but up to a point, it doesn't matter. If it can explain the steps as a symbolic reasoning, then you can still check the symbolic reasoning, even if it's wrong about its introspection. Now, actually, I was reading Cory Doctorow, as usual, recently, and he made the point that, we speak a lot of the human in the loop, and humans are notoriously bad at checking results. And, if there's a machine taking decisions and the human has to vet it, it's very hard. It's easier to take the decision and take everything into account than to think of reasons why this decision might be wrong. And people just get, yeah, sure, approve. I don't know. I don't, you get in a, I won't bother. And he made the point, and that really struck me. And oh my God, I didn't think of that. It's even worse if the steps of the reasoning are given, because that gives you more steps to check. You're like, oh, wait a second. I always counted on the transparency of the reasoning being a guarantee that if it's a black box, at least we can check. But he's saying people are less likely to do it if it's multi-step.
Where do you find this? Is this like a blog of his?
That's his blog, pluralistic.net. And that was in the latest episode, I think.
Like intuitively, I feel like I don't agree, but I feel like I must be wrong. Like I feel like when I'm reading something, I'm building up my own little mental model, and I have predictions for what's coming next. And when when the logical leap or the factual evidentiary reliance shows up that's unexpected or even contradicts my background knowledge, I like feel something. I'm like, oh, that's wrong. And that's largely why I want this tool to,
Yeah. But
know,
the problem is when you get overwhelmed and you give up.
Yeah.
It's not do you do it, it's when it becomes too painful. Because that is a painful process.
It is.
You probably feel it. That feeling you have in your head is pain. Sometimes.
Yeah.
You're having to change your perspectives on the world. So the challenging thing is having all this information be digestible. But I don't think you are being dripped out, and like Joel mentioned big paragraphs, but haven't actually looked at it, but I would think you could tune it towards just smaller facts. It's like, well, did you consider this fact? So the AI is not overwhelming them with information, and they don't even need to say why. It's just like, did you consider this? And then the person could go look it up on their sound, find someone else's debunking. But at least you're taking them further down into the chain as they have energy and time. So I don't think
sounds right.
trust is too big of an issue. If they keep investigating things and they find debunkings and they bring it back and it's wrong, then they'll realize, oh, it's not even worth having this exploration with this AI. But
that's really interesting. I didn't really get to my trust point, and thank you for bringing it back. The question is, right now there's more and more fake facts, right? And a great strategy of disinformation is to find like sequences of words, phrases that are not used yet on the net. And then you plant all the disinformation around these sequence of words. And then you can say, oh, do your research, look at X. And then you've created the bubble. You pre-created the bubble for this. It's Machiavellian, really. It's increasingly sophisticated. This information is increasingly sophisticated. And so being able to say, and then you get, different news source saying this is false, and contradicting one another, and people give up. That's what disinformation does. That's the goal of disinformation, not to push a false narrative, but to make people give up in looking for truth. It works. And the whole question of how can we get people not to trust the reasoning, but to trust the base facts is a very complex one. The I remember quoting this article that did a kind of notarization of photographs on the spot in a blockchain as one of the really good uses of blockchain. Like somebody saying, I took that photo, I uploaded it now, and at least we know that this is the time of upload. That's now incontrovertible. We have a an incontrovertible timestamp for that.
Yeah. So if also you don't want to spend a lot of time at that podcast, um, gives you a really good overview of the what they found in the study and everything.
No, I totally want to. I mean, I'll read the study, of course,
Yeah.
instead.
But it's good to hear their kind of motivation and stuff like that. And a lot of that stuff isn't in the study, so it's good.
No, it's wonderful because yeah, we were discouraged with facts, and saying facts matter is extremely heartening for the likes of us.
Yeah, so and also talking about your discussion about how information overwhelm is a big issue. Like one of the challenges with of gathering data for Reason Tracker is I get overwhelmed every time I try and take an article and put it in there. And I just noticing just the way people talk, and not just people writing manipulative articles, which are worse at it, but even having an argument with someone, it's like they're grabbing into a random bag of facts and pulling them out. And it's like, well, that fact overlaps with the last three things you said. And it's like it's not
Totally
organized in a
straight.
coherent way. And there's so much processing I have to do just every time they say a word. And then I'm finding it's really hard to disentangle all that and organize it. And that's where I was saying, I was thinking if it's a decision, and I guess I just need to look, I'm going to look at some different ways people organize decisions, but just like looking at what are the expected and potential effects and potential negative effects, and having that as a comprehensive list without overlapping terms. Because it's funny, people will say, well, it causes reduced turnout and it causes confusion. And it's like, well, okay, if the people aren't turning out because they're confused, those aren't two separate facts. That's the same fact rephrased, but then not completely, right? Because there could be other reasons why they don't turn out other than just confusion, right? So it's not this, and there may not be a way in the English language to completely disentangle the concepts. There may be an overlap, or you have to use a paragraph to say all of this, but not this, in order to get them separated into concepts. So I don't even
Absolutely.
know for a fact that it's possible to do that yet.
I think it is.
I hope
It's
it is.
difficult. No, no,
I
no,
bet
no.
it
I mean,
is, but
we have. It's true. What happens, unfortunately, is that the English starts to look more like formal logic when you do it, right?
yeah, which can
And
turn people off also. And is it so entangled from the original intent that people don't even recognize the argument in its new form, and then they think you haven't addressed this issue. So I'm having to like retain the original quotes that were driving it. So when people do a search, because the words that are in the quotes from the sources are those words aren't in the new argument at
th
all.
th that's always going to be true.
Yeah.
The arguments in a form that can be analyzed have nothing to do with the arguments in the way that they're said. And putting them into a form that can be analyzed is going to be an interpretation. And hopefully you can try to validate it with the person who said it if they're around. Not a given. Uh, but it's an interpretation. It's not what was originally said. But what was originally said was
Yeah, not very helpful.
necessarily it's natural language. It's vague. Natural
Yeah.
language is always vague. It doesn't work like logic.
But also their concepts are often just flat out useless. Like they're thinking about it at a way that's not like some of the ranked choice voting things, it's like, well, you don't have one person, one vote. Well, first of all, yes, you do, and no, you don't. Like part of that concept is covered, part of it isn't. But who cares if you get the representative that's right for the situation? The concept of one person, one vote is a misstated slogan of we want equal power in our voting. It's not, I don't
How is ranked voting not one person, one vote?
be, well, and if you look at it askew and you say people, if there's three candidates, some people may just vote for two. So the people that vote for three candidates, that rank three candidates rather than ranking two, get a vote in the final. If you simulate the runoffs, the people that didn't rank all three candidates didn't get to participate.
Participate.
And your votes are moved from one candidate to another. So some in some interpretations of the word one person, one vote, it doesn't apply. But it's
It,
kind
it,
of a red herring. They're just looking for excuses, and one person, one vote
it's a
just means equal opportunity, and everyone had the same opportunity to rank all the candidates. So
yeah,
in the end, it doesn't mean anything. But I still have to
yeah.
debunk that.
It's a narrow definition of vote. A ranked vote is a vote. I mean, if you rank three people, that's one vote.
Yeah. If you rank two and you choose not to participate in that option, then that's your choice. We
That's a
don't
vote.
we don't force people to vote. Well, in some countries you get fined if you don't vote, but we could fine them if they don't vote for all three. And they're also using evidence saying, oh, it doesn't work in this case. And it's like, well, they had four candidates and they limited it to where people could only rank three of them. And I'm like, it was a bad voting system. And you're saying that that's evidence that a different voting system doesn't work. Anyways, it's just mind numbing to go through all this stuff. And that's why I had to hire someone to do it.
Yeah, it is mind numbing. I agree totally.
Yeah.
I had a conversation with uh, we have Trumpists even here in Canada. I was a bit astonished. Anti-vaxxer, the works, and not a stupid person, but some of the arguments he made, like, and he was basically railing against the two-party system and saying, "Oh, you accept this ridiculous notion that it's they're all equivalent, they're all bad, and you've accepted this ridiculous notion that there's this bugbear, and you have to choose the other one because there's a bugbear." It's like, listen, I'm all for getting out of this narrow choice. But right now, the choice is what we have. So yes, within that narrow choice, the least bad option is a better option than the worst option. That's almost a tautology. How can that be wrong? I'm willing to fight against the first past the post system or the limitation or even representative democracy. But given this is what we have, yeah, at least bad is better.
So Mark Antoine and I have been taking up most of the oxygen in the meeting. I don't know, Joel and Carl.
Sorry. Yes.
Well, me. I'm just making sure everyone feels invited.
I haven't had anything, I guess, big that I wanted to add to the conversation. Yeah. I did hear that there were concerns in Alaska's, like, I think it was Alaska's ranked choice voting when, did you guys hear there was like a guy in prison in New York or New Jersey or something that like is running or ran? I don't know if this finished happening yet, but I read it a couple weeks ago that he like got on the ballot, and like even though it's ranked choice, people were concerned about the an extra person just because some people might not vote. Like if people are not like thinking or trying or whatever, they might just like default to picking someone of the party without like considering all the candidates. And that, I guess I'm just reminded of that because that's a ranked choice criticism, I guess, that if
They
people
might
aren't
use
actually.
they might use ranked choice as a simple vote. Their problem.
Yeah, and in which case it's like, I don't know, is this really a problem with ranked choice voting? Not really, but
Yeah, doesn't the same problem happen? It's even worse in a two-party first past the post, because then if they well, and they're forcing they've blocked Kennedy from getting off the presidential list for several states, which they're hoping will draw votes away from. I mean, the assumption is that they're they're thinking it'll draw votes away from the
Oh,
Democrat.
did you hear about the vote exchange initiative?
No.
Matchmaking? This is brilliant. Like somebody set up a server. So if you're in a key state and you wanted to vote for Jill Stein, you can exchange you say, okay, I will vote for Kamala, and two Kamala people in safe blue states will vote for Jill Stein instead. And you set up people, which is brilliant because it means the protest Jill Stein for whatever reasons you might not like Kamala still happens, but only in safe counties where it doesn't threaten Kamala's election. But it's still numbers. And it still sends a signal that some people are unhappy for whatever reason. And it's legal. They've checked that. We used to have actually this we have this in Canada, like because we also have first past the post. I have done once an exchange. I don't remember who against who, but as a way to get a protest vote. I was in a safe county. Now I'm not, so I won't do it. But
Oh wow, that's an interesting idea.
I think it's brilliant.
What if multiple independent exchange systems existed and enough people, used them separately, and then they actually elected the third party candidate?
I don't think we're anywhere near the levels where that is a threat
Not that
yet.
popular. Okay.
Is the system actually able to like enforce that votes are happening the way they're
Of course
supposed
not.
to? Okay.
It's based on trust. But they do matchmaking between people based on county and like this is safe, this is not safe, and people go there who think, yeah, I'm willing to. I change my option to make a statement without endangering the anti-Republican vote. So that's we're a bit far from our core.
Yeah, I guess bringing up the topic of ranked choice voting kind of pulls everything.
Sorry, yeah.
The
Well,
my topic.
it's on everybody's mind right now, isn't it?
Yeah. Although there's nothing to apply there now, but yeah, it's the election is looming in the US, which kind of drags everyone else in the world a bit. Yeah, as far as Reason Tracker, I haven't made much progress because of personal stuff. I'm still hiring someone to do some research. We're moving from using Google Sheets to Airtable to track the relationships more easily between claims. And it's interesting explaining to someone who's not just, but who's an executive assistant, so hasn't worked in logic trees or stuff like that yet. So I'm finding interesting the type of assumptions someone makes and thinking about a structure. Like said, well, the second generation claims tend to be this type, and she felt that they had to be that type, and I'm like, no, it's a tree of information. So it's interesting explaining and then having her write up the documentation might be more understandable than if I wrote it up to people that are not in the space. So it'll be interesting to see. I got to review the changes this weekend. But I don't know when I'm going to get a video made. It may be months. I still have the UX software still needs a lot of coding. So, yeah. So, Carl, you worked more on your thing since in the last week or so. I see. I guess you just messaged about it the other day.
Yeah, I was pretty happy with the release of a couple weeks ago, which you can get from the Chrome store if you're ever interested in trying the extension. The graph is a bit more stable, so more usable. The highlighting library now checks whether new content has appeared or disappeared and updates the highlights. So those are the two new changes. And then the PDF stuff, so I'm working on this week. But I tried to go from that release to being my own guinea pig of trying to use it to really map things in earnest. And I got caught on that PDF issue that I mentioned, and I bit the tasty problem cookie of, okay, let's highlight PDFs instead of trying to find some different problem or workaround. But I keep trying to psych myself out that I must find some other user by the end of 2024. So I'm trying to motivate myself that way of saying, okay, I want to be able to show some people some examples. I want to say, this is what, I've done with it. There won't be any sharing. There won't be any platform. It'll just be like some static maps that I put on GitHub that you can download and upload yourself if you want to look at them. Because that was something that came out. His name is Alex Short, with 2 T's, is that logic map person. One of the things that came up with him, because he's very much in that founder sort of mindset, which I really appreciate because it's challenging. He's like, you got to get in front of users, or it's a paraphrase of his statement. Because he's like, when I got in front of users, I just couldn't find, it's like a business path forward. Those, again, not his words exactly, but I think he couldn't find a monetizable product that would have made, allowed him to survive while also working on it. So he kind of gave up for a while. And I don't have that particular goal, like long term, that'd be awesome. All of us, of course, feel that way. But just short term, even if there's people who would use it in a hobbyist way, even if I don't see a path forward to monetizing, I would just be excited that, oh, this is delivering value to someone. But I think another thing he mentioned that call is the danger of being drawn into the many different facets that this type of tooling covers, because there's so many different people with quite different usages. And if you go down one path or over index on some type of user you find first, it can really change the product, and maybe in a way that makes it difficult to like pivot to a larger audience or something that would be self-sustaining eventually.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I guess I should revisit trying to use that and have my researcher try it. See if it solves the problem.
The sophistry.
I tried to
Okay. Let me know if you have any questions.
Go ahead, Mark, and talk.
Sorry, you're speaking about Haoju, right?
I'm talking about, so I'm calling this sophistry, even though in my own mind it's kind of two different, they're kind of like two different, lenses looking at the same problem. Haoju is the web platform that you can add in these facts and justifications, whatnot. But the thing I always got stuck with Haoju is that, okay, after I've spent some time mapping, even though there isn't like an actual visual 2D map, I kind of lost track of, okay, well, where's the bigger picture? How do I see this in context? And that's when Bentley started talking about, an argument mapping tool like 2 months ago. And I just, kind of on a whim, I just totally changed course and said, I'm going to go with this from the mapping approach and see, what it looks like as a browser extension. And I just called it sophistry, one, because it's kind of a silly name. And
is that not the name that
Stephen?
Yeah, Steve
His
Jervis
is Socrates. His is Socrates.
Socrates. Okay, sorry.
Well, hopefully he doesn't mind me using a similar name, but
That's fine, I think. I went on the Haoju site. There's a link to the Chrome extension which doesn't work. It
that's
gives
the
me
old gunky. That's the one I did a long time ago. Let me relink sophistry, and then I'll double check what that thing currently links to. Maybe I should just make that link to sophistry.
it links nowhere. So that's what I wanted to tell you.
Oh, I thought I released a fix to that. I think it has a broken link. Yeah.
So,
For
the record. And I'll definitely try.
Here's the Zoom as well. That's the one I'm working on currently. Sophistry.
Yeah, I've installed it now. Found it, and from the name I installed it.
And then I don't have a
Okay.
video, but it's basically if you select text and right click in a content page, it'll put stuff in the graph. You have to have a map open first, of course. Double clicking is probably not obvious, but that's the way to create new propositions or claims. And then the rest is all dragging. So you drag a proposition to an excerpt to say that this excerpt appears at the proposition. You do the reverse, drag the excerpt to the proposition to say this thing justifies that. You drag propositions to other propositions to make them justifications for the thing that you're targeting. So it's all drag and drop, which is intuitive to me because I wrote it, but maybe less intuitive to other people. So I apologize. There isn't an undo redo, which probably would be helpful for people exploring, but you can delete things by right clicking on either like the edge that was created or just the node if you want to get rid of the node.
Good.
Yeah. And I could share an example. I could share my rank choice. I'll share it in chat in a bit. I could share my rank choice map because it gives you like a starting point then to have some stuff as opposed to starting from a blank slate. I submitted a Chrome issue because right now, oh, that's the other thing it's kind of probably unintuitive is zooming. I don't know if you have a trackpad. So normally you'd want to do pinch to zoom for trackpads. The Chrome side panel doesn't allow that. So I filed a Chrome bug. I can share it if people are interested or care.
It looks like the side panel is persistent even when you change browser windows. So can you
Yeah.
take quotes from multiple pages and put them in the same argument?
Yes. Yeah, you can. Yeah. Yeah, it is persistent. It just stays open while you move around the main page, which is kind of nice in a sense.
That's the point. Yes, I totally agree.
Yeah, I didn't realize that that was a feature of the browser side panel.
Here, I'll share this Chromium bug. First person who responded, well, I guess the second person who responded did sound pretty upbeat about it eventually getting addressed. I may or may not have, peeked at in the internal assignee to a bug that seems related, and that person looks out of office for several months. So I don't know if it'll get fixed anytime soon, but
There's no users right now, right? It's all in the public space, public shared space. If I
users
create,
sophistry.
yep.
And as far as what you create gets saved in local storage, so it doesn't go anywhere.
Oh, it doesn't go anywhere. Okay.
Yeah.
Local.
Right now there's no platform, there's no API, there's nothing in the cloud. You can
Yep.
download a map if you're like, oh, I really want to protect this in case of a browser change or whatever, and you can upload those downloaded files. So technically that's a way of sharing. But I've been focusing entirely on that experience, the interaction of just on the page and the mapping for now.
Gotcha.
Wasn't one of the goals to be able to have two different or multiple different highlight colors? Are those?
Yeah, so that was something so that's something I did a little about course on. When I first implemented the highlighting library, I have this default highlighting, which is technically still available, but doesn't really surface right now in the extension because there's no settings for the extension. I haven't added settings yet. The way the coloring works for sophistry is that the highlights come out kind of a neutral color, which maybe is too low contrast, but to me it's I can still see it, but it doesn't take up my it doesn't catch my attention until you either put in something that proves or disproves one of those appearing propositions. And so right now it works on this assumption that whatever you add, trusts to be true, just kind of like a reason tracker, maybe sort of assumption. So if you put in maybe I should try share, or I don't know, I guess I could just describe. Okay, yeah, maybe
Yeah,
Go
sure.
for it.
let's see. Always there we go. Share screen. So like this is so this is a map of a proposition called I-2066. It's a citizen, sort of proposition to remove a climate protection law, or several, that relate to transitioning the energy map to natural gas. And so this one, it's all mapping. I have not done anything here. And so, I mean, I have to kind of make up, and then here's me playing around with adding a PDF, which kind of works, except you can see this highlight is moving with the page. So I have to fix the scrolling. So I'm just going to delete this for now, but let's say, remember, because this is another site. It's supposed to scroll to where it opens. I don't know why on new Windows. So for this one, it doesn't work at all until you, I don't know if there's something weird going on this page where the content's not loaded. Or maybe it didn't find the URL. So I probably shouldn't be working from my dev. I probably should not be working from my dev space.
It's entirely possible that the thing is hidden until you scroll down. I mean, some sites do that.
Let me turn off this one and turn on I think that's also the local one. Where's the one from the store? This one's the one from the store. So this one should work better. And then I have let's see, map. Oops, I'm gonna upload. There's nothing super embarrassing in here. I think this one, I haven't done a great job of keeping track of all these files. Oh, this one's just well, I guess for lack of, not to like make you guys follow me around. I don't know where my, ranked choice voting best one is right now. This is the danger of having a, local storage only. But you can see how these, none of these are appearing. So like, I have not said that I can make this one appear here. So if I carry this over here, that by carrying this proposition node over to that excerpt, it kind of like swallowed it. And it said, okay, that excerpt is no longer like independent. It is an appearance of this proposition. And so, I mean, I guess ideally, if I brought this up, okay, so that kind of worked. You have to expand, I think. Oh, here it is. So I think the timing's off for turning yellow, but when you click on this, it's supposed to scroll you there and highlight it in yellow. I think sometimes the yellow disappears for a newly opened page before you see it. So that's an appearance of, whatever this would be. And, you can imagine this should be something more, could do a literal translation, literal paraphrase. Okay, the graph's still not perfect. Sorry, I don't know why that issue is still there. And then since this is appearing, it's considered neutral, like because it's a something that I found in the wild, but that I have not made an opinion about. But I just double clicked to add a new proposition. It's assumed to be true because that's the way the system right now works, is that your assumption is that what you add is true. I could change this to be a negative what's what I'm looking for, like negative polarity, so that this thing proves the falsehood of this thing it targets. And that's why it turned red. And sorry, the whole reason you asked about this was the colors. So right now these colors in the extension correspond to the like valence, I'm calling it, the truth valence of the thing that's linked there. So stepping back, the library itself does support multiple colors. It's configurable. But right now this is using a coloring scheme where like I tell the extension, this one's a green one, this one's a red one, just because those are the things I'm trying to represent. But yeah, the kind of pretty rainbow is still possible. It's not what I was supporting in this case. I wish I could figure out this thing. I've been very tempted to try out what Joel's using, the React Flow widget, because it looks really slick. But I'm kind of in this point where I've already invested a decent amount of time customizing Site Escape, which is the library I'm using for these graphs. And, like there's that you ain't gonna need it sort of thing. But I know I have so much flexibility at my fingertips right now with this custom approach. So I haven't quite made the decision to go over. Although things like this, where I don't know why this thing, maybe if I like close and reopen, it'll re-render and look nice. Those things bug me. All right. By reloading, it gets better. Go with that for now. So yeah, that's colors. Let's see. I mean,
So,
oh yeah, go ahead.
so if you have a contour con, does it become green?
So the con to the con would just like negate whatever this thing's doing. So if that's a con, and then I put that on there and I say it defeats it, should like this thing becomes a dotted line because it's been, defeated, and it no longer imports or whatever, conveys its, power, its truth valence to the thing it's targeting because it's been contradicted.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh, and one other thing it's not intuitive is that if you want to have a compound argument, you have to like be kind of nimble with this. So there's dragging onto the proposition, which targets it directly, or there's dragging onto the container of the
And yeah,
proposition, and it becomes, a compound. I would like to have the ability to resort these and you have a little more flexibility. But right now they kind of just go next to each other with no specific order, which is annoying. But
very nice. But yes, people will need some way to learn about this. Learnability is a concern.
yeah. Yeah, I was thinking like a 3-minute video or something.
I think you should. I loaded it in. I was like, okay, how do I add an extract to the map?
Yeah.
I tried dragging it, didn't work.
Try dragging which one? Oh, like the double click thing wasn't at all obvious?
The, I'm trying to get text from the web page to the map. I don't know how to
Oh,
do it.
dragging it over. That would be awesome. Yeah, it's a right click menu.
Okay, it's here. Okay,
Yeah.
that works. Thanks.
Yeah, for sure.
I needed to be told.
Yeah, I'm very much realizing that what's obvious to me is the person who wrote it. It's not at all obvious.
Yep,
So
no
I'm
problem.
very open to if you even want to just ping me like, oh, I was using it and this was confusing. I appreciate that because I don't even have that level of information right now of what's not obvious.
I understand.
Was thinking like a 60 to 120 to 180 second explainer. Even 60 seconds if I could cover the basics.
Yeah, I think that would be useful.
Like clicking on the things in the left-hand side will then take you to find them in the map, which is kind of nice. It syncs with down here, so you can you see what's selected down here. That all works together. And then this visibility thing, like I mentioned how like the excerpt here became an appearance, and so it kind of disappeared from the graph. But if for whatever reason you really need to use it, you can make it visible. You can control its visibility and it shows up. Yeah, it's not a very fancy, system, but covers the basic cases I've needed where something disappeared and I needed to get back at it to use it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. If you'd make a 6, because I'm also like, and I don't want to probably go through it now, but like how to make things link up and stuff. So yeah, if you want to make just a short video, even just walking through a couple. I mean, I could probably rewatch this. I was looking at the wrong screen when you're doing it, but
Yeah, no, that's great motivation. Yeah, I'll do that next week. Like probably by the end
and
of
I
the
could share that with my researcher, have her try that on an article and see what happens.
Okay, great. And if you want the data, it's just you just download the maps and it comes in this JSON format. So
On my, and I'm using Brave, that menu pops up and then disappears.
oh really? Okay,
This-
that's interesting.
The scroll bar pops in and that's repositioning things. I don't know why I'm getting a scroll bar and you aren't.
Yeah, I
So,
don't know. I can try it in Brave. I've been like narrowly focusing on Chrome.
yeah,
Like
and you probably should just focus on one. You don't want to handle all that. So I might try it in Chrome, make sure. It might be a resolution thing as well, but I'll let you know.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, that's probably at the top of our meeting. If no one has anything else, we can go ahead and close it and see everyone in a month or sooner if anyone has anything they want to accomplish.
I think this is good.
Good.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.